Strike. No one's saving those.
Chris, Simon, there is always an unsavoury element to the work that you do, but also the continued challenges that there are in the game. What has the past week said to you? We've had the incident in Paris, and we've also had Spurs against West Ham, and a lot of reports coming in to kick it out about anti-Semitic abuse and abuse against disabled people. What is that showing you about our game currently?
I think we've obviously got to remember that this is a this is a minority. So these are individuals, not representative of the fan base as a whole. But clearly, there's still work to do. I was shocked and appalled to hear about the abuse that Harry Kane got, talking about disabled people, etc. I think that's a new low, to be honest. I've not heard anything like that ever before. Anti-Semitic.
But there was supporters saying there was nothing wrong with what they were saying.
Well, I'd struggle. I think we'd all struggle with that. I think that kind of reflects some of the work that we have to do. So, you know, the organisations such as Kick It Out, organisations such as Proud Lilywhites, that just demonstrates there is so much work to do. If people don't understand what is wrong with some of the things that they're saying, then clearly that means there are things that we need to do.
Yeah.
Not just in Premier League clubs, but clearly in other clubs as well, where this sort of stuff happens, but maybe doesn't get quite so much visibility. Personally, being Jewish, I was not surprised to hear the comments that were made by West Ham fans. I think they've got a fairly sort of long, rich history for doing that sort of thing. Yeah. It's not nice to hear. No, you know, certainly, I don't think anybody who lives in Stamford Hill much knows about you know, Tottenham or possibly coming to the game sometime. So why should members of the public be subject to that kind of abuse? So why should anybody, but certainly members of the public who've got nothing to do with it, really. Just shows really how much work there is to do, how much the clubs, I know they try, how much more they probably may need to do, and how important it is really to have organisations like us work with clubs to say, actually, that's not okay. Actually, these are the sort of things you need to be doing. These are sort of messages you need to be making sure your fans are understanding. And if you somehow think that something is possible, then you probably want to talk to your Jewish fans, your LGBT fans, your disabled fans, and understand that, because, you know, maybe you're not quite getting the message, I think.
Chris, how far have we got to go? I think before the Paris Metro incident, everyone was saying, you know, we're in a much better place than what they are in Europe. I know a lot of people that work tirelessly in this kind of industry will tell, you know, that the general public otherwise, but I think Paris just brought it to everyone's mindset that we have still got a long way to go. Absolutely, and I think I echo what Simon says and say, yes, it's certainly a minority. However, I think... But, Chris, sorry, what is a minority? A minority of football fans. I think we're football fans. Yeah. We sit in a football stadium every week, and there are 36,000 people at Spurs, and you would probably say a small percentage of those may have that kind of an attitude or those kinds of views. However, that still exists. And, you know, I've got a very firm belief that football can be a force for social change and good. Right, okay. And so, actually, the messages coming out of football are really important. And so, you know, Chelsea have quite rightly vilified those fans. However, maybe I shouldn't be saying this, John Terry got off scot-free. They did not come down hard on him when he was, you know, when he was basically a racist. Now, how can you vilify your fans and then not come down on your assets, basically? And then you've got the larger football authorities giving the World Cup to places that have got appalling human rights records. You know, forget that Qatar's going to be 50 degrees in the summer. If I go to Qatar, I'll be kicked out again. Right. Would I be stoned to death? I don't know. Yeah. But you know, I'm not allowed to be in Qatar. So the World Cup final being just a couple of days before Christmas Day is the least of the worries. It's the least of my worries, absolutely. Yeah. And then Russia 4 years before that, it's exactly the same. It's illegal. It's illegal to be a lesbian, to be gay in Russia. You know, and so, you know, we've got to look at it on the wider scale as well as just talking about the fans. I can see you getting really heated up and pent, which means that I know how much this means. What more can football do then? Everyone says, oh, we're a small minority, we shouldn't be... What more can football do then to make sure that, you know, in a few years' time, we're not sitting around this table discussing those kind of issues that have happened, and you don't go to a Tottenham-West Ham game knowing what's going to happen?
Well, I think on the club level, I think Simon touched on it earlier. Certainly, working with organisations such as ours and such as Kick It Out and such as Football versus Homophobia, so we can really, there is not going to be any debate about what is and isn't acceptable. As you say, some fans didn't see the chants against Harry Kane as a problem. It's a bit of a laugh. I'm going to use the word. It's banter. It's not
that horrible word.
It's not actually, and it really isn't. And as Simon said, you know, a member of the public's on the train. There shouldn't be anything like that that's discriminatory. And those guys know what they're doing, and they do it outside of football, because in the football ground, you know that's going to get shut down, and you're going to have to be ejected from that football ground. And so actually, you know, you do name and shame. You pick those people out. Those guys on the Paris Metro will get called out from it, and you know, it's going to make the people that want to say those sorts of things think again if they're going to have a life banning order from football now. I've also had conversations about restorative justice. Yeah. If you're a young person, you know, what happens? Do you get banned forever? Is that really the right thing to do? Or do you want to say, actually, you have to go through a process of education? And we want to do something wider. You know, we played Brighton in, when was it?
This season.
Yeah, it was earlier this season in the Capital One Cup. We played Brighton, and, you know, Brighton, wherever they go, are subject to homophobic chanting at them. And, you know, we issued a statement. We were very strong about what we thought was and wasn't acceptable. And I'm really pleased to report that on the night, we didn't have any reports of homophobic chanting. In fact, the only reports we did receive were some fans who did try and start something up, but who were policed by their own fans. Okay. And that's exactly what you want to hear. Because we talk about a minority, there are going to be some people who want to do that. But when the rest of your fans say, oi, that's not on, then actually that's where you want to get to. So it has to come from all levels. It has to come from the person who sits next to you in the ground, to the club having a very firm stance, whether it's in terms of the policies they have, the posters they have there, how they communicate to their fans, and then to the authorities as well. You know, I'd love to see all the big nations saying to the World Cup, I don't think so.
Yeah, that's what
no to Russia,
earlier,
no to Qatar. You know, imagine if all the European teams and the big South American teams said, we're not doing this.
But but I think it's been proven there's a guy who sits at the top of that organisation who doesn't get it. Yeah. So all of those things we talk about are
I'm not quite sure who you're talking about.
All great, well and good. But for the purposes of
said that women should play in skirts, didn't it?
Yeah, because my lawyers aren't that good, I won't mention his name.
Simon, let me talk to you about that Paris incident. What brought that so much into the public eye?
I think two things. First of all, it wasn't just banter; it was physical assault. Yeah. So if they're pushing somebody off a train, whether it's because it's too busy or because actually it was racially motivated, it doesn't matter. It's physical assault. So first thing, there's straight away that's a criminal act. Yeah. Second thing, I think also element of English fans abroad. Again, we thought we'd got over that. Perhaps we thought that we'd moved on from the old days of writing in squares. Without a doubt, I think part of it is clearly because of the club and the fans they are. Going back to Chris's point, if you're the talent get away with it, but the fans. Just the same old fans who don't. Okay.
I think the final point on that one though is probably what they were chanting. There would be no debate about that's not banter. There's no way you can interpret that in any other way but outright racism, because they were chanting "We're racist." Yeah. So there's no sort of room for interpretation.
Okay. But also, I think the other point is that you're quite right. Some people may argue that there are some homophobic chants which are banter, and is it really? And
exactly.
We're still on the boundaries of is homophobic chanting really just banter, or are we all being a bit too precious, or I don't quite see the problem. Whereas we've moved past that with racist chanting. We absolutely know where the line is, but there's still some more education I think that needs to be done so that people do understand where the line is.
Strike! No one's saving those.